Test, test. Hey, everybody. I'm just testing out Restream to try streaming to two different platforms at once right now. So if you are watching on LinkedIn or YouTube, this should hopefully be showing up. I am right now just looking at my absolute favorite data visualization and kind of information designers work right now. This is Federica Fragapani. I hope I said her name right. She does some of my favorite pieces of information design that I've ever seen. They're just amazing. And I was just getting a little inspiration for this and wanting to sort of explore some of the creative possibilities you see in this kind of really beautiful, super meticulously designed work over in Excel. And with other kind of like simple tools that maybe are more accessible to people. So I really love this Iran protests visualization that Federica did. It's showing the total number of people who were killed in the protests throughout the protests. It's just a gorgeous visualization. I was kind of curious if we could recreate something like that in Excel, and you can't do exactly the same thing, but you can do something pretty close. So let me show you an example here. So here's a kind of an example inspired by that amazing piece by Federica, where we're kind of showing those number of people using this beautiful sort of lock of hair type design that she used over time, and sort of it grows as the number of people grows. It's a really sobering, really sad data set, right? And it's bringing attention to a really important issue. And also, I'm fascinated with the way that Federica is able to work these gorgeous visual designs into these really insightful visualizations. That's, to me, the most exciting part of all of this work. So anyway, I was able to kind of create a version of it in Excel. Obviously not the same thing exactly. We can't do all of the nuance she has in her visualization, but I thought it was a cool way to kind of say, you can take that really advanced, beautiful type of kind of visual concept and start applying it in something as simple as Excel. You don't have to feel limited if you don't know how to use other tools. I am going to just check out the stream on other platforms here because I don't think Restream shows me all of the comments. So if you're in here and you're commenting, let me know. I will head over to the area where I can see those comments and respond as I go. How do I see comments? Oh, hey, Adrian. Thanks for tuning in. Great to see you here. If you have any questions or anything, you can drop them in the comment section. I'm also going to try to figure out here how I can see YouTube as well. Give me a second. Thanks for bearing with me, everybody. If you're watching this kind of after it was streamed, then thanks for tuning in. I'm just going to be going over some fun kind of visualization stuff, some of my favorite work from some of my favorite folks out there, talking about kind of applying some of this stuff in other, applying stuff that you think maybe is only from other places, but applying it here. Oh, no, that's not what I meant to do. How do I find my stream? Sorry, folks. I'm trying to find my stream on YouTube, and I'm having a little trouble finding it. Found it. Okay, great. So yes, if you are tuning in from YouTube, feel free to drop a comment, and if you are on YouTube, feel free to drop a comment. I've got both windows open now. I can see them. Hement, I see you in the comment section as well. Thanks for joining. And I'm sorry, I've never used Restream before, so if anybody out there happens to be a Restream expert, let me know. Oh, hey, there we go. I can see everyone. Never mind. I can close all these windows and go to my notifications. There we go. Beautiful. Let me close that. Okay. All right, back to it. So yeah, this was for anybody who just joined. We're looking at my absolute favorite information designer's work portfolio. This is Federica. She does these gorgeous data visualizations that kind of combine really excellent, beautiful, refined visual design with data visualization to make these really insightful, touching, kind of beautiful representations of complex kind of data concepts. Her work is just outstanding. It kind of goes way beyond what I've seen from pretty much anybody else out there. If you all have your favorite kind of information designers, let me know. Oh, hey, Adrian, I see you in the comments as well. We've got 2 Adrians in the comments. Hi to both of you. And I've just been, lately I've been having a little bit of a creative kind of block lately, and struggling to come up with stuff to kind of push the boundaries of my own work in Excel and in other tools that I use. So I've been using Federica's work as this kind of inspiration source to get me to kind of push the limits of what I'm doing in my own work. Oh, hey Lee, thanks for being in the comments. Great to see you as well. We should chat sometime and catch up. It's been far too long. Okay, so one of the things here that I think really jumped out at me is the way that Federica uses sort of non-standard shapes or visual forms in her visualizations. She does these beautiful curved forms, these really organic shapes, and uses those as the basis for a lot of the work that she does. So in this case, here's the legend for the visualization here. We're seeing that each leaf represents something, each portion of the leaf represents something, and each line represents something. So you can interpret this just as easily as you would any other chart type. But it is so much more visually engaging. It's so much more inspiring and evocative, right? And that's what gets me so excited about all this stuff. So anyway, I've been just doing my best to start taking some of these kinds of concepts, hey, organic forms and more creative sort of use of shapes and everything else, and applying that in my own work. So I was using this Iran protests visualization that Federica did, this beautiful visualization capturing this really sad concept, which is the number of people and the number of children who were killed in the Iran protests. And she visualized it in this absolutely beautiful way. And I wanted to use that as a base because I kind of had an idea of how I could start applying that sort of concept in Excel. So I took the sort of the visual layout she used and wanted to see if we could apply that in just a standard kind of chart in Excel. We were able to do it not exactly the same way, but sort of capture that same spirit, that same beautiful visual, without necessarily exactly the same nuance, but still kind of trying to capture that really evocative, important insight in a meaningful way, and do that in Excel. So anyway, Federica is amazing. If you all haven't checked out her work, go check it out. She also has a course that I haven't even taken yet. I've been wanting to take it for so long. That is apparently an amazing course on how to start doing this stuff. But definitely worth checking out if you're into this sort of thing. Okay. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Restream tells me how many people are here. Can I do it? Let's see. What does a chat overlay look like? Give me a second, folks. I'm just kind of learning how to use Restream. Okay, message background opacity. Okay, hold on, folks. I'm just trying to get this set up and copy this into OBS Studio or your favorite alternative. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how to get your comments to actually show up on the stream. Okay, sorry folks. You all know I'm a little new to this. Still kind of figuring it out. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay, I've got stream settings and just trying to figure out if I can add the chat in, but it looks like I don't know how to do it, so we'll do that on another stream. Anyway, thanks for being patient, everybody. If anybody has questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the chat, and I'll hop on and try my best to answer them. I've been playing around with some other kind of visual experiments here in Excel as well. Like I said, I was really inspired by the way that Federica used kind of like organic shapes and forms, so I've been thinking about ways to implement those in Excel as well. This is using a bubble chart. Bubble charts are just nice because you can set coordinates for things very, very precisely. Bubble charts, you have an X coordinate, a Y coordinate, and then a bubble size metric. So if you use that, you can sort of place different things on a screen in really creative ways. So I was thinking about ways to implement that, just creative ways of trying to use these more organic shapes in visualizations in Excel. and playing around with some other stuff as well. This is wildfire data. I maybe have mentioned this before, I'm not sure, but my family home and the family homes of everyone I grew up with, for the most part around me, all burned down in the wildfires in California. And I was kind of intrigued by the data behind that and the increase in fires and all of that kind of thing. So I've been thinking about ways of representing that increase in the scope or the extent of the fires that are happening over the U.S. based off of some data, some U.S. based data on wildfires. And this one, I think kind of captures it. You see, this is from 1985 onwards, the area of the fires that happened. So the acreage burned, increasing and becoming more frequent over time. It's really interesting kind of data. Okay, and again, folks, if you have questions or comments, you can drop them in the chat. I think they are coming through. Unfortunately, again, I don't know how to get it set up so that they show up on the stream itself yet, but as soon as I have that figured out, I'll add it. Okay. Okay, sorry. I'm getting a bunch of messages and just making sure that the stream's working. Thanks for bearing with me, everyone. Okay, cool. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about Federica's work, and I think Federica's work is just such a good place to start. I kind of want to do this where we do streams and we just go over people's portfolios and find inspiration and understand sort of how they do the stuff that they do. Federica is specifically, right, she's an information designer, right? So the work she's doing is, it is data visualization at its core, but it is very much design focused and integrating design elements, but also using like design tools. I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming she probably uses Illustrator for this. I see Illustrator being listed up in the upper right here. And that's because in certain kinds of visualizations, when you have a static data set or a data set that's just not going to be updated, when you do the visualizations, you have a little bit more flexibility in how you design it, because you don't have to have it set up so that everything updates when you add another line of data to a table. You kind of have your data, it is the way it is, and when you create your design, it can be not necessarily focused on something that updates like a dashboard according to data over time, but something that's maybe more, this is an oversimplification, but a little more like a infographic, in the sense that you are representing a set of data and it's not dynamically updating. So when you do that, you can go a lot deeper and you can get a lot more creative and use visuals in a way that you might not otherwise use. And I think Federica's work does that really, really well. Now, I'm making a bunch of assumptions here because I don't know exactly how she builds everything that she builds, but that's just my best guess. So these works, they're just so gorgeous. And it's not just the visualizations themselves that make them gorgeous, it's the layout, it's the contextual information around each visualization. All of that stuff plays into making these so engaging and insightful and just genuinely beautiful as well. I really liked this space junk one that she did, which I'll show here. And this is kind of visualizing, as far as I understand it, it's just the objects we shoot into space that are sort of kind of stuck up there floating around. But she just, let's see if I can zoom in so you can see this better. She just visualizes it in such a beautiful way. And I think what I like about these is that the visualization itself, it's, yeah, okay, sure, it's kind of like a bubble chart, it's kind of like a bar chart in a sense, but it's actually something totally new and different. It's actually its own sort of standalone concept. And being able to do that, have a kind of almost like its own type of chart, and combine that with just this gorgeous visual design is something I think we should all strive to do as well. It's just absolutely amazing work. Anyway, y'all should go check out her work. It's beautiful. So what I've been thinking about lately is sort of ways to, like I said, apply this kind of stuff in other systems and other programs in places like Excel, trying to kind of take some inspiration from the beautiful use of like organic forms and the layouts, all of it, and sort of think about ways like, hey, how can we capture something similar, something with that same level of really beautiful visual everything in other programs. So that's what I've been playing with. I really love these, this deepest lake visualization as well. These are really great. Using a bit of a, what do you call that? Depth map? No, I'm sure somebody in the chat will remember what you call those, but presenting these beautiful forms and using different sort of visualizations alongside those forms to give you an insight and also make something that's really visually engaging. So when the visualizations are actually part of the visual design and layout, I think that's kind of the most exciting part of all this, at least to me. All right. Just looking at the chat. If anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat. Let me see here. Just seeing if we got anybody in either of these right now. Yeah, oh, we got some folks on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn and you're watching, feel free to let me know where you're tuning in from and if you have any questions. And I'm just going to see if we have anybody tuning in here on YouTube as well. Oh, thanks for bearing with me, everybody. Yeah, so I'm testing out, I was mentioning before, I'm testing out Restream for the first time, where I can stream this across multiple platforms. And what we were doing is just looking at some of the beautiful work from other information designers out there. Specifically, we're looking at some work right now from Federica, who's like my favorite information designer in the world right now. Her work, every single piece she releases is stunning. And we'll cover some other stuff as well. But if anybody has questions or comments, don't hesitate to ask them. I'll do my best to answer everyone. And I'm just trying to check the live and see if the YouTube live stream's working and if we have anyone on there. Looks like we just have one person in the YouTube live stream. Okay, cool. All right. Cool. All right, and again, if you have any questions or comments, just don't hesitate to add them in the chat. And I will do my best to answer questions and everything. All right, so anyway, I think we've spent a good amount of time here going over some of Federica's work and explaining just why it's so beautiful and special and how we can kind of push our own work farther forward based off of examples like this, right? Like, I think this is some inspiration that we can all take to sort of expand the scope of what we do in our own visualizations and expand kind of the constraints we might imagine we have in data visualization, because there's so much more we can do, and I think we sometimes limit ourselves based off of what we think each tool should be used for, when in fact there is no set constraint there. You can do gorgeous work in Excel, you can do gorgeous work if you're doing a custom D3.js visualization, you can do gorgeous work if you're using Power BI, you can do gorgeous work doing anything really. And I think people should just kind of loosen up the limitations they have around that, and also hopefully get inspired by beautiful visual work, because beautiful visual work really does an amazing job helping us communicate more effectively with data. Anyway, big shout out to Federica again. I know I just keep saying it, but her work is so flipping inspiring. I just love it. So I was showing an example earlier, taking inspiration from Federica's really gorgeous visualization and really touching visualization about the Iran protests, which is here somewhere. I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble finding it now. Federica did a gorgeous visualization here showing the number of people killed in the Iran protests, and how many of those people were adults and children. It's just a really beautiful and touching visualization showing really important data. And if we go over to Excel, I sort of tried to see if we could do something similar in Excel. So slicing some of the sections of this, and like, can you create that same kind of gorgeous texture and pattern kind of layout in Excel? And I was really surprised to find that you can do something similar. You can't create the same nuance that Federica was able to create, because I think, like I said, she might have been doing that in Illustrator or with a visual design tool specifically, but you can kind of get that same effect and create something really beautiful and evocative and all of that using something like Excel. And to me, that's just such a good example of doing something with a tool you might not expect to be able to do it with, so that you're not kind of limiting yourself based off what you think the tool can and should be able to do. All right. I just recently was doing a video on some of the time spent with people over our lifetimes data that you might have seen in the last videos if you watched them. This is a big set of survey data from Americans asking them who they spend time with throughout the day at each stage of life, from ages 15 to 85. And when you look at that data, it gives you some kind of sobering insights into what our lives look like. So over time, people spend more and more time alone, right? You have essentially a gradual increase in time spent alone throughout your whole lifetime, or people on average do. Now, that is unto itself maybe a little bit sad, but it's also really important to consider in the context of how time alone directly correlates with health issues and shorter lifespans. The more time you spend with other people, if you loosely look at the data, the longer your lifetime and the better your health overall. And so it's really important for us to think about that and think about how to change it. The same thing with time spent with friends and family. From the time you're essentially a teenager onwards, time spent with friends and family kind of decreases. It just sort of drops off a cliff. And those are the people that are your support network as you get older. And so there's like a lot to be said for trying to maintain those relationships and find ways to kind of change these curves, right? The one thing that I wanted to add to this data set, because I hadn't seen anyone do it, is this sort of looking at it as proportionality over time. You see this plotted out as line charts all the time, which is great, but the line charts make it hard to kind of see that ratio change, right? So we go from, as children or as teenagers at 15, we go from having a decent amount of time spent alone, but a huge amount of time spent with family and a huge amount of time spent with friends. And then as we look at that over time, towards the end of our life, this kind of reverses, and we have massive proportion of our time spent alone or time spent with our partner. That makes up the vast majority of the time we spend in old age. And so it's so important to think about that getting into old age. Putting the effort and time into building kind of social connections and stuff really matters. It has a huge impact on people's health and wellness. Anyway, really interesting data set. This was from, I think, ourworldindata.org, I think is the site. But Our World in Data has a bunch of super, super poignant data sets and super, super great insights into the way we live our lives. This one in particular, I see people make huge mistakes analyzing this data set all the time. And it's because the data set starts at age 15 and goes until age 85. But when people try to build visualizations with this, they make the mistake of thinking it starts at age 1 instead of age 15. And so you'll see people say things like, oh, by the time you're 20 or something like that, you've spent half of the time you'll ever spend with your friends and family, which is actually incorrect. It's 15 plus, it's when you're 35, not 20. And it's just a mistake people make because they use the row number instead of the age. I see a lot of mistakes made with this data set. So just something useful to look at. The trends overall are still the same, but you'll see people give specific ages when they talk about this data. And the ages are often an error they've made when looking at the data, oftentimes in Excel or another spreadsheet tool. Hey, and if anybody's still tuning in, if you have questions or comments, please, please, please put them in the chat. I don't see any other comments coming through here, although maybe we have some. I'm going to also open up the analytics page and just make sure everything's still running here. Real-time analytics is not running. Oh, that's too bad. Viewers? Can we look at that? I'm just trying to see if there's a way I can see how many people are in the stream at any given moment. Looks like we've got just one person in the stream right now. Okay, yikes. This is a small one. Well, whoever that one person is, if you have questions or comments, feel free to ask them. I'll do my best to answer. And I'm going to just check here, see how everything's going on the stream page. Looks like everything's working. Okay. All right. Yeah, again, if you have questions or comments, don't hesitate to ask. Restream seems interesting. It's cool to be able to stream to multiple places like this at once. I do see that we have some folks here on LinkedIn too, so if you're on LinkedIn, you're watching, you have questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, so we looked at this data a little bit. So this, for context, this is all in Excel. A big part of my content is just showing people kind of fun, interesting, engaging ways to build things in Excel that are a little bit more visually fun, right? Visually complex, visually engaging. And I think people really limit themselves in Excel to building things that look like, this. And then, they insert a chart and they essentially leave a chart that looks like this. This is what everything from Excel typically looks like because people don't take the time to play with the visual customization features in it. But we've got an amazing set of visual customization features available. People just don't get trained how to use them. And, just getting a little fun, using a gradient fill instead of a regular fill, choosing new color palettes, just having a little fun with it can go a long way to make things a little more engaging, capture your audience's attention, all of that in a way that you might not otherwise be able to do. I was showing this earlier for anybody new on the stream. Federica Fragapani is like my favorite data visualization person out there. And I tried to recreate sort of one of her really beautiful visualizations about the protests in Iran in Excel, just to see if you can capture those kind of beautiful visuals in this other program. And surprisingly, you really can. You can do a lot of cool visual complex stuff in here. And I've just been starting to play with what are other ways we can create kind of non-standard, more organic visual forms in Excel and start to play with that stuff. So it's been a fun kind of adventure. I'm going to be doing more videos on some of this kind of stuff as well, just because I think apart from just being useful and insightful, it's also a really great way to capture your audience's attention, get people engaged, and do all that sort of stuff. I'm also been doing a lot of projects lately where we take the built-in Excel templates. So if you create if you're in Excel, you can go to File, New from Template. And you have a bunch of templates in here. And it's not just the ones on this list. You can search for things if you want to, search employee something. There's even more. So there's tons of these free templates. And I think this is great as a starting point for folks who are wanting to learn how to kind of spice up an existing report. So I've been doing more videos where I start with something from this template list, this free template list, and then we take it and we customize it and kind of do stuff with it. So this one you see behind me, it was taking a Gantt chart, which I thought was a really cool Gantt chart in the free template gallery, and then combining it with this timeline chart, which I also thought was a really cool chart, and putting those together to create sort of a fun timeline combined with a Gantt chart. So as you enter things into your Gantt chart and add new data, the timeline updates and reflects each of those stages, and you just get this great kind of, I think, harmony between two different template and chart types. This was something that's really fun. We're going to restyle this whole thing, make it look really good, but this was really cool. I always am fascinated by the way people create Gantt charts in Excel. It's kind of complex, it's kind of confusing, but they're obviously really useful and something people really need, and you can do a lot with them. It's just very hard to customize the styling. But with a little bit of finagling, we can make some pretty cool stuff here. All right. Again, hey, if you're in the stream and you want to hop in the chat, ask a question, whatever, let me know where you're watching from, anything like that, please don't hesitate to do that, because it lets me know the stream's working. It lets me know that folks are out there watching. It's just helpful. So feel free to drop a comment if you are on LinkedIn or YouTube watching this right now. All right. This is another place I've been looking for data sets and kind of cool concepts to visualize lately. This is ourworldinData.org. They have a great set of data around lots of kind of critical world issues, from population demographics all the way to things like living conditions, human rights and democracy. They're really great data sets, and you can really create beautiful visualizations with this, for one thing, and have a great place to start. But you can also, I think, get a little bit of inspiration on how visualizations are made, or how to visualize data that you might be struggling to think about how to visualize. When you see this kind of stuff, it can kind of open up your eyes a little bit and give you perspective. Hey, I see Faraz is tuning in from Dubai. Hey, Faraz, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for letting me know you're out there watching. Much appreciated. Faraz, I think I maybe have seen you in the chat before, maybe in the comments of some of the videos. But hello, hello. Hope you're doing well over there in Dubai. Right. So, I think I am actually going to wind the stream down here. This has been a fun experiment with Restream, just trying to get multiple streams going on multiple platforms, but that's kind of all I was trying to test here. If anybody has any final questions, comments, anything, now's the time. Kind of last call on questions or comments. I'll do my best to answer them. If not, no problem. And I think this was just a fun little exploration. You'll be seeing me kind of do more experiments inspired by folks like Federica and some of the other folks out there doing information design. I think breaking down the barriers around what we think we can do around this stuff it's really important. You can do so much more with the visualization tools you have available to you than you would imagine. And folks like Federica really help me remember that sometimes. I'm also just curious. I don't know who the biggest information designers are out there. Like, I don't really have a clue. Federica is somebody whose work I have crossed paths with in the past, but I know there's a lot of other really talented folks out there. So I will also be kind of exploring some of the other work out there from other people, and maybe we'll share more portfolios and talk about what makes the work so great and what we can learn from it. I think that might make a cool maybe streaming series or something. I'll reach out to some of these folks as well and see if maybe they want to talk, do a collab, or join the stream or give their perspective. Maybe we can ask Federica if she wants to join for one of these, and some of the other folks that we see here doing beautiful designs as well. And yeah, again, last call for questions or comments. Throw them in the chat if you have them. If not, I think I'm going to wind the stream down here. I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you for coming and watching. I'll be doing more similar stuff like this in the future, I think. Like I said, streaming's new to me. I'm still kind of figuring all this out, but as I get more familiar with it and kind of learn how to do it better, I think I'll be doing more of these. Oh, that's interesting. All right. I don't see any other questions or comments here, so I think now's the time for me to wind the stream down. Thank you for tuning in. Everybody have a good one, and I'll be back with more soon.